You will never conquer the mountain by standing at its base and admiring the view. You must climb, you must move, you must force yourself to take action even when your emotions scream otherwise, because action, not thought, is the bridge between desire and destiny. The difference between the man who dreams and the man who achieves is this: the achiever acts, not when he feels ready, not when the conditions are perfect, but the moment he decides that waiting is more dangerous than failing, the moment he understands that inaction is a slow suicide of the soul. Then, you must realize this: no one is coming to hand you your purpose. No one is obligated to pull you out of bed. No one is responsible for your discipline. You are. And if you are to rise, you must learn to move without asking your feelings for permission. You know why most men stay average? It's not because they lack talent. It's not because they lack opportunity. It's because they lack the internal command to make themselves move in the direction of their calling. They wait, they delay, they analyze, they negotiate with fear. And every minute they do that, they lose the fire that once burned bright. But you must be different. Burn this into your soul. You do not need to feel like it. You only need to do it. The act of doing reshapes the mind. When you move forward, when you take a step, no matter how small, you silence doubt. You destroy hesitation. You teach your body and your mind who is in control. You are. Action is the cure for fear. When you stand still, fear grows like a shadow. It becomes a giant in your mind. But the moment you begin to move, when you act in spite of it, you shrink the shadow, you reclaim your territory, and in that act you awaken something divine within you. Let me tell you something. The habit of forcing yourself to take action becomes the habit of winning. Champions are not men of convenience. They are men of conviction. They wake up and act regardless of how they feel. They build routines, rituals, and relentless standards. They don't wait for clarity. They create it through motion. This is a truth most never discover. Clarity is not given, it is revealed after you begin. The path will not unfold while you sit and ponder. It unfolds as you walk it. You learn by doing, and you gain confidence through the very things that once terrified you. So today, make this your decision. I will act. I will not wait. I will not delay. I will not hand my life over to feelings that change with the wind. I will move forward because greatness does not come to the comfortable, it comes to the committed. Every man who has ever changed the world first had to master himself. Discipline is not punishment, it is freedom. Action is not pressure, it is power. And force, the ability to make yourself do what must be done, is your greatest ally on the path to mastery. Do not ask, how do I feel? Ask what needs to be done, then do it, without question, without excuse, without delay. Because in the end, the man who forces himself to act forces the world to change around him. Fear is not the enemy, inaction is. Fear only grows in the silence between thought and movement. It multiplies in the waiting room of indecision. The longer you sit still, analyzing every detail, every risk, every outcome, the more powerful fear becomes. It begins to echo louder than logic, louder than reason, louder than your purpose. Fear is like a shadow. It stretches and expands only when you remain still. But the moment you step forward, even with trembling hands and a mind full of uncertainty, the shadow shrinks. It retreats. It loses its form in the presence of your courage. You do not need to feel ready. You do not need to have every answer. You do not need the perfect plan. You need only to take the next step, any step. Because action is not just a behavior, it's a declaration. It tells the fear that you are not its prisoner. It tells the world that you will move, even if your knees shake. It tells your future that you are coming for it, no matter what stands in the way. Inaction whispers lies. It tells you to wait for the right time. It tells you that something else must happen before you can begin. It promises you comfort, but delivers only regret. Action, on the other hand, is raw truth. It exposes what you're made of. It doesn't always feel good. It doesn't guarantee immediate results, but it guarantees growth. Every time you act, you grow stronger. Every time you step forward, the voice of fear grows weaker. Every act of courage rewires your identity, shifting you from someone who hesitates to someone who builds momentum. Think of the people you admire most, the ones who changed the world, the ones who rose from nothing. They were not fearless, they were not magical, they were simply willing to move in spite of the fear. They acted when everything inside them said, stay still. They embraced the uncertainty. They showed up to the fight without the guarantee of victory. And because they acted, the fear eventually bowed. Fear is a test. It waits at the doorway of every breakthrough, but it cannot withstand motion. The moment you push against it, you realize it's not a wall, it's a mist. It looks solid from far away, but the closer you get, the more it dissolves. This is why those who act gain clarity, while those who wait remain confused. Motion reveals, it teaches, it sharpens, it corrects. But most of all, it liberates. Some of your greatest regrets are not tied to what you did. They're tied to what you didn't do. The conversation you avoided, the dream you put off, the goal you talked about but never started. And behind each of those moments was fear, disguised as logic. Fear disguised as caution, but in reality, it was your power, imprisoned by hesitation, and only action can break those chains. When you act, even in fear, you take back control. You shift from victim to creator. You stop life from happening to you, and you start shaping life with your decisions. Action puts your hands on the wheel. It places the pen back in your fingers so you can write your story instead of reading the script handed to you by fear and doubt. The truth is, confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you earn. And you earn it by doing the thing that scares you, not once, not twice, but over and over, until what used to paralyze you now empowers you, until what used to shake your foundation now strengthens your core, until fear becomes the signal, not to stop, but to press on, because it means you're close to growth. You cannot think your way into bravery. You must move, you must act, even if your voice shakes, even if your legs feel heavy, even if you don't yet see how it will all work out. The act of moving forward births courage where there was none. Action is alchemy. It transforms fear into strength, doubt into determination, hesitation into habit. So the next time fear rises, do not wait. Do not analyze it to death. Do not try to outthink it, outrun it, outwork it, outperform it. Do the thing afraid. Do the thing unprepared. Do the thing uncomfortable. And as you move, you will notice something incredible. The fear doesn't chase you, it fades. Because fear is loudest in stillness, and silence gives it a microphone. Move and you mute it. Move and you master it. Move and you become more than you thought you could be. Because inaction feeds fear, but action, no matter how small, destroys it. Feelings are the most deceptive guide a person can follow. They fluctuate with the weather, shift with circumstance, and are constantly shaped by the noise of the world around you. One moment you may feel strong, and in the next, discouraged. You may wake up inspired and by noon feel overwhelmed. If you build your life on such unstable ground, you will never rise above mediocrity. Feelings are temporary passengers, but discipline is the captain that gets you to your destination. The people who win in life are not those who feel good every day, but those who do what must be done, whether they feel like it or not. Success is not reserved for the most talented, nor the most gifted, nor the most passionate. It is reserved for the one who refuses to negotiate with their emotions, the one who says, "It doesn't matter how I feel today. What matters is what I do." You see, The emotional man waits. He waits for inspiration, for a sign, for a good mood, but the disciplined man builds. He builds habits. He builds momentum. He builds a structure so strong that even on his worst day, his discipline keeps moving him forward. The path to mastery is not paved with motivation. It is paved with grit. It is built on repetition. The greatest musicians, athletes, leaders, thinkers, they did not achieve greatness because they felt like practicing every day. They achieved greatness because they trained their mind to submit to their higher aim. They developed a mindset that says, this is who I am. This is what I do, regardless of how I feel. Your emotions are not your enemy, but they are not your compass either. They can inform you, but they should never lead you. Feelings are reactionary. Discipline is intentional. When you choose to act despite your mood, you exercise authority over yourself. That is the highest form of freedom. Self-mastery. The ability to rise above momentary emotion and serve long-term purpose is the mark of a strong and focused individual. Each time you push through discomfort, each time you show up when you don't want to, you reinforce the identity of a disciplined person. And over time, this identity becomes stronger than your moods. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to move not because of how you feel, but because of who you've become. That is where true confidence lives, not in fleeting highs, but in consistent action. Think about it. If you only acted when you felt good, how much would you really accomplish? How many goals would you reach? How often would you give up right before the breakthrough? Discipline closes that gap. It ensures that even when the fire of excitement burns out, the engine of discipline keeps you moving forward. You don't need to be on fire every day. You just need to be consistent. When you train yourself to obey your decisions instead of your feelings, you unlock a rare power. You become dependable, not only to others, but to yourself. You begin to build a life that's not shaped by external forces, but by internal decisions. That's when progress becomes inevitable, because the truth is, success is not sexy. It's not always thrilling. It's often boring. It's routine. It's repetition. But it is in that repetition that excellence is forged. So, stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting to feel passionate. Start acting. Start showing up. Start doing what needs to be done, and let your feelings catch up later. You don't need inspiration to start. You need to start to find inspiration. Some of your most powerful breakthroughs will come on the other side of days you didn't feel like trying. But you tried anyway, and in that effort, you discovered your strength. Discipline is your anchor in the storm. It is your compass when the path is unclear. It is the only thing that will carry you when everything else fails. So don't treat it like an option. Treat it like oxygen. Build it like a muscle. Choose it like your life depends on it, because it does. In this world, emotions come and go. But the man who is ruled by them will go nowhere. Be the one who chooses action over excuses, consistency over chaos, commitment over comfort. Be the one who rises not with perfect circumstances, but with an unshakable standard. Feelings are unreliable. Discipline is not. Let that truth shape the way you live, the way you work, the way you rise. Because when the day is done, it won't be how you felt that builds your legacy. It will be what you did. You are your own rescue plan. There is a moment in life when you look around and suddenly it hits you. No one is coming to save you. Not in the way you hoped. Not with the urgency you need. And not with the understanding of the fire burning inside you. That realization may feel like a loss at first, but it is, in fact, the beginning of true freedom. It is the first spark of power. The awakening of personal responsibility. Because the very moment you stop waiting for someone to fix your life is the moment you finally begin to live it on your terms. You are not helpless. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not a victim unless you choose to remain one. When you embrace the fact that everything ahead of you depends on what you do now, not what anyone else does for you, you unlock the kind of power that cannot be taken away. That power is rooted in responsibility, and responsibility is not a burden, it is your liberation. Too many people spend their lives waiting for the right time, the perfect conditions, a helping hand, or even divine intervention. But what they don't realize is that waiting weakens the soul. Waiting delays the process. Waiting transfers your power into the hands of someone else. And that is how potential dies quietly, not with a bang, but with hesitation. If you truly want to rise, you must stop outsourcing your progress to someone else's approval, validation, or permission. The door won't open unless you push it. No one knows your dreams the way you do. No one understands your struggles like you do. And no one feels the urgency of your calling like you do, which means you are the only one truly qualified to lead your own rescue. That doesn't mean you won't get help along the way, but it means you don't depend on it. It means you rise with or without applause. You build in silence. You grow in secret. You become dangerous in the shadows, and when you emerge, you do so with a strength no one saw. Responsibility is not about blame. It's about power. It is not saying everything is your fault. It's saying everything is now your move. The world may not have handed you the best cards, but it is still your hand to play. The past may have wounded you, but the future is still yours to write. You are the author now. You are the architect. There is no shortcut for this kind of transformation. It comes through deep inner work, through showing up when it's hard, through failing and getting back up, through learning who you really are, not the version others want, but the one forged through fire, silence, and persistence. When you stop expecting someone else to light your path, you learn to carry the flame yourself. Some days that flame will be small, barely a flicker. On others it will be a wildfire, but it is yours. It is your responsibility to protect it, to feed it, to let it grow. This is how you take ownership of your life. Not through grand declarations, but through daily decisions. You decide to get up, you decide to work, you decide to believe, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. You become your own rescue plan by doing the hard things no one sees, by showing up in rooms where you feel invisible, by studying when no one claps, by sacrificing temporary pleasure for permanent growth. You build discipline, not because it's fun, but because it's necessary. You train your mind to obey your goals, not your moods. You begin to act like the person you want to become, even when you don't feel like it. And slowly, day by day, you rise. The truth is, no one can want your success more than you. No one can outwork your own desire. No one can inject you with purpose. That has to come from inside, from a decision that you're done waiting, that you're done blaming, that you're done hoping the world sees your value. Instead, you start creating that value. You start proving it to yourself through relentless action. This world rewards those who take responsibility, not those who point fingers. The moment you own your growth, your healing, your progress, you become untouchable, because now you move from a place of power. You are no longer swayed by circumstances, by opinions, or by fear. You are led by vision, and vision is a force far stronger than feelings. So stop waiting to be rescued. Stop hoping someone sees your potential and gives you a chance. Give yourself that chance. Break the door down if you have to. Get uncomfortable. Take risks. Build the life that only you can build, because no one else will do it for you. Not the way you can, not with the soul you carry, not with the fire that was planted in you before you were even born. You are your own rescue plan. You are the answer to your own prayer. You are the solution you've been seeking. When you realize that, nothing becomes impossible. You move different, you think different, you rise. And when others ask how you did it, you'll smile quietly, knowing the truth. I stopped waiting for someone else to save me, and I became the person I was waiting for. Momentum is born from movement, not motivation. This is one of the greatest truths that separate the dreamers from the doers. Too many people sit and wait for a magical feeling to come upon them, an emotional rush that will launch them into greatness. But the truth is, that feeling rarely shows up on its own. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for the wind to blow exactly the way you want it to before you raise your sails. It is the habit of the passive mind, the habit of the man or woman who has not yet realized that action creates energy, not the other way around. Taking even the smallest step sets the fire in motion. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need the full plan. You don't need the approval of the world. All you need is movement. Action, no matter how small, is the spark that awakens your power. That first step, however uncertain or awkward, creates the momentum that leads to a second and then a third. And suddenly, without warning, you are no longer standing still. You are no longer stuck. You are in motion. Motion has a strange and powerful effect on the mind. When you act, even when it feels forced, you shift your focus from thinking to doing, from worrying to working, from doubting to deciding. It is in this shift that something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel what you once waited to feel. You begin to cultivate motivation through effort. You begin to create energy by investing energy. This is the secret that achievers know and the masses forget. Action comes first, emotion follows. You see, motivation is not a lightning bolt that comes from the sky. It is not a gift handed down to the chosen few. It is a result, a consequence. It is built like a muscle through repetition, through movement, through daily decisions made in the absence of comfort. When you act when you don't feel like it, you teach your mind that discipline is stronger than emotion, that movement matters more than mood. Success does not belong to the most inspired. It belongs to the most consistent, and consistency is forged in the fire of daily action. Not grand dramatic acts, but simple, faithful steps, repeated again and again. Steps that feel boring, steps that feel small, but those very steps are laying down a path of momentum, brick by brick, until what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. It's easy to look at successful people and believe they are powered by some special force, that they wake up excited every day, overflowing with motivation. But what you don't see are the early mornings they didn't want to get up, the workouts they didn't feel like doing, the work they tackled despite exhaustion or fear. You don't see that they too face resistance, but they act anyway. And that action becomes fuel. The law of inertia teaches us that an object in motion stays in motion. This is not just true in physics, it is true in life. If you start, even slowly, it becomes easier to keep going. But if you remain still, waiting for the right feeling, the right mood, the perfect moment, you will remain locked in place. Fear grows in stillness. Doubt multiplies in delay. But the second you move, even with trembling hands, you break their grip. The voice that says, "I'm too tired," becomes quieter after 10 minutes of action. The thought that says, "I'm not ready," begins to fade once you're already halfway through. That's because clarity lives in action. Confidence is built by doing. You don't think your way into belief, you act your way into it. Each task completed, no matter how small, becomes a vote for the person you are becoming. Even nature teaches us this principle. A river carves through rock not because of its power, but because of its persistence. The seed breaks through soil not because it waits for the perfect conditions, but because it moves toward the light, regardless of what surrounds it. In the same way, your life will change, not through wishing, but through moving. This is how you build momentum. Not by waiting to be struck with divine energy, but by becoming the source of your own ignition. You wake up and take one step, and then another. You don't ask if you feel like it. You don't negotiate with weakness. You understand that movement is your responsibility. And in honoring that responsibility, you awaken the force of momentum that will carry you further than you imagined. Don't overthink it. Don't overplan. Just begin. Begin where you are. Begin with what you have. Begin with the smallest task. And once you begin, don't stop. Let each action bleed into the next. Let your energy multiply through execution. Let your motivation rise not from external hype, but from internal victory, from the quiet confidence that says, "I showed up, I moved, I did what needed to be done." Let the world chase feelings. Let others wait for signs. But you, be the one who moves. Be the one who builds his life on the foundation of effort, not emotion. Be the one who understands that momentum is a gift earned by those who take action in silence and in doubt. Because the fire you're looking for, the force you crave, the drive you're hoping to feel, It lives inside your first step. So take it, move, and keep moving. Your future depends on it. Clarity is earned, not given. This is one of the most powerful realizations a person can come to in their journey towards success, purpose, and fulfillment. You don't sit and wait for the heavens to open and hand you a perfect map. You don't wait for your emotions to be completely aligned or for every step to be revealed before you begin. You move, and the fog begins to clear. The path does not unveil itself to those who are idle. It responds only to those who walk forward in faith, even with trembling legs. Many people remain stuck for years, paralyzed not by the difficulty of the journey, but by the illusion that they must have complete clarity before they take their first step. They want certainty, they want confirmation, they want guarantees. But life rewards those who are willing to walk into the unknown and figure things out as they go. The man who moves, even with limited vision, will go further than the man who waits for perfect visibility. Because action invites direction. Movement awakens momentum. Each step forward sharpens your sight, strengthens your will, and deepens your understanding of what must come next. Larry, this air is full of reward for courage. When you take action without full knowledge, you are displaying faith, not just in yourself, but in something higher. You are trusting that the process will unfold what the mind cannot fully plan. You are surrendering the illusion of control and embracing the flow of reality. It is in this surrender that growth takes root, because you cannot grow without movement. You cannot discover without journeying beyond what you already know. Stagnation does not breed vision. It breeds confusion, overthinking, and fear. But the one who moves in the face of uncertainty opens himself to revelation. He earns the insight others are still waiting to receive. You learn more from doing than you ever will from thinking. Experience is the great clarifier. You can read, strategize, and visualize, but until you step into the arena, you will not truly understand the dynamics of your path. Plans, no matter how detailed, must be tested. Ideas, no matter how brilliant, must be executed. Through this execution, you begin to see what works and what doesn't. You begin to feel your way into the right rhythm. You refine your vision, not in theory, but in practice. And in this process of trial and adjustment, your true direction is revealed. Consider the sculptor. He does not see the final statue before he begins. He has a sense, a vision perhaps, but it is in the chiseling, the striking, the shaping, the removing, that the form emerges. The work reveals the masterpiece. The process births the clarity. The same is true in life. You must be willing to start with a block of stone, an idea, a goal, even if it feels vague. You must chip away, refine, try, fail, try again, and eventually, the shape of your purpose begins to emerge with greater and greater definition. This is why the greatest achievers are not necessarily the ones who had the clearest plans in the beginning. They are the ones who were willing to start with what they had and figure it out as they went. They walked into the unknown with belief. They trusted the lessons of the road more than the illusions of certainty. And because they moved, clarity followed. If you wait for clarity before you act, you are surrendering your power to fear. You are telling yourself that unless conditions are perfect, you are not capable of navigating them. This is a lie. You are more capable than you know. You are more adaptable than you realize. You were built not to stand still, but to evolve. You were designed to learn, to grow, to become wiser through motion. And every single step you take, even the wrong ones, contributes to that evolution. Even your mistakes can become milestones if you choose to keep going. Missteps are not failures, they are feedback. They show you where the adjustments need to be made. They point you toward refinement. Each error is a teacher, and each correction is a sign that clarity is being earned in real time. The path becomes yours not when it is laid out in front of you, but when you claim it through perseverance, adaptability, and action. So if you're waiting for the path to light up perfectly before you move, you may be waiting forever. But if you choose to step forward today, with what you have, with what you know, with courage in your chest, you begin a process that will reshape your entire life. You will make mistakes, you will feel doubt, but through it all you will gain clarity, not just about what to do, but about who you are. Because walking the path reveals more than the path. It reveals the person, the one you were meant to be, the one who rises not because everything is clear, but because they chose to begin anyway. Let that be you. Let today be the day you stop waiting for certainty and start building it, one bold step at a time. Self-command is the beginning of world command. It is the root from which every form of greatness grows. The man who can discipline himself, who can bring his habits, thoughts, and emotions under authority, has already mastered the first and greatest battlefield. And until this victory is won, no external conquest will bring lasting triumph. The world bends not to noise, not to fury, but to the one who has stilled the war within. There is a reason why kings rise and empires fall from the inside. No army can destroy a kingdom faster than its own internal collapse. The same is true of a man. If you cannot govern your impulses, if you cannot delay gratification, if your thoughts drift like leaves in the wind, then no matter how much success you chase, it will always slip through your fingers. It is the man who can rule himself that begins to exert quiet, unshakable authority over the world around him. Self-command means saying no to what is easy in favor of what is right. It means waking up when you don't feel like it, showing up when no one's watching, and speaking truth when lies would be easier. It means you are no longer at the mercy of mood or moment. You become deliberate, strategic, grounded. You don't yell to prove your strength. You move in silence, in purpose, in precision. You are not triggered like a puppet. You respond with wisdom, or you don't respond at all. That is power. That is self-command. To command yourself is to take full ownership of your mind. No thought enters without inspection. No fear is allowed to rule. No fantasy is permitted to replace responsibility. You shape your mind the way a master sculpts stone, with intention, discipline, and relentless correction. When doubt creeps in, you confront it. When excuses whisper, you silence them. When weakness tries to convince you to stop, you tighten your grip and press forward. You do not tolerate mental chaos, because you understand that thoughts create actions, and actions build destiny. If you allow your thinking to decay, your life will follow. But if you shape your inner world with discipline and truth, then the outer world must eventually conform. This is not magic. It is alignment. It is principle. It is law. The man who commands himself commands his time. He does not give his hours to distraction. He does not chase everything that glitters. He understands that focus is wealth, and time is the currency of greatness. He invests each moment like a builder laying the foundation of a cathedral. Every piece matters. There is no aimlessness in him. Even in rest, he is intentional. Even in quiet, he is composed. Emotions do not steer him. He acknowledges them, but he does not serve them. Anger does not erupt from his chest like fire without aim. It is harnessed like steam to power movement. Sadness does not paralyze him. It deepens his strength. Joy does not make him reckless. It reminds him of purpose. He commands his emotional landscape like a general over his troops, not with cruelty, but with clarity. Yelling has its place, but none have the throne. Habits are his fortress. He does not wait to be inspired. He trains himself to move without permission from emotion. He builds routines not to feel robotic, but to ensure freedom through structure. He rises at the same time, reads, writes, works, reflects, not because life is mechanical, but because purpose requires consistency. Chaos never built anything lasting, but the man who molds his life through daily discipline shapes a force that few can match. And because he commands himself, he begins to shape his world. Opportunities open, not because they are chasing him, but because he has become ready. People trust him, not because he speaks louder, but because his presence radiates inner stability. Challenges come, but they do not shake him, because he has weathered greater storms inside himself. When others break, he bends. When others panic, he plans. The world quietly moves aside for the man who has mastered himself. He does not need to boast, does not need to compete.